What's going on, everyone? It's your boy Ethan. Hope you're having a great day. This is going to be part 2 of one of my very first sessions that I played in Florida. Well, if you didn't see the first part, I played some ridiculous pineapple game, and it has a lot of gamble, and I'm stuck as much as 4,500. Then the game gets switched to no limit hold'em, which is something that we're all more accustomed to, and the stakes get bumped up to $10.25 with a $50 straddle for the majority of the night. And I can't wait to show you guys this video because we get in some really big pots, and yeah, I don't know. I buy in for $30,000 here in this game, and thanks so much for watching. Thanks for clicking and hit that like button. It's always appreciated, and let's get into the hands. Into the 10-25 streets we go. We're playing 5-handed, short-handed to start here, and I pick up King Jack offsuit on the button. There's a cutoff open to $75 on my right, and here, I think with this hand, we can go either way with a call or raise. Considering it's coming from late position and we're in position of him, I'm happy to amp up the aggression and 3-bet to 225. The blinds fold and the player on my right makes the call, so we are going to a flop of King 10 high, 2 clubs. He checks it over to me, and considering I have no club in hand, I do have an open-ended straight draw and an overcard. Certainly could bet, but leaning more towards a check and seeing a turn. So we're off to a turn, which unfortunately brings in the flush draw. So now 3 clubs on board, and he checks it to me for a second time. Happy to just check this one back, obviously, as I don't have a whole lot going for me. Happy to see a river and see what happens. And when the river comes a king. Nice. Stumbled into top pair, and this player now throws out a bet of $275. Not much of a decision here for me. I decide to just snap this one off. Make the call with top pair, and he unfortunately shows us 2 pair. King 10 offsuit, and the start to hold'em here is not going our way. Looks like today just might not be our day to win in poker. Really trying to win a hand here, I pick up a premium with ace king offsuit in the hijack, and there is a button straddle to $50. So when action folds to me, I put in a raise to $150. The cutoff makes the call in position, and now onto this button player who straddled. Seems like he's been a little wild so far, and he 3-bets, puts in a raise to $650. All right, we're out of position against someone who is definitely capable to be raising lights and happy to gamble here from what I've seen in the pineapple game. So with that said, I'm stuck, and the only way to get unstuck is to put more money in the middle with a good hand. So that's what I decide to do. I put in a 4-bet to $1,650. The cutoff player gets out of the way, is squeezed out of the pot, and now the button player has a decision to make. He jams. Yep, that is right. I'm facing a 5-bet jam now, and he made his decision fairly quickly as well. I asked the dealer for accounts, and it totals to a whopping amount of $5,810. Considering there's a straddle, it's just a hair over 100 big blinds, and here we are. Let's gamble. I think ace king is just way too strong to fold, especially against someone who likes to gamble. I'm praying that we're flipping, and if he has aces or kings, then so be it. It's going to be max pain for us. I close my eyes and make the call. Almost a $12,000 pot in the middle. We're going to see 5 cards, praying that ace king can win here.
One time.
The runout comes pretty decent for us, and I show my ace king offsuits, and we win against ace jack. So he wanted to gamble and shipped it, and luckily ace king held. So this is one way to totally get unstuck from our ridiculous hole we built ourselves, and now actually in the green and in profit now. Maybe the tides are turning after a brutal start to this session, but I'm happy to win one of the bigger pots I've ever played so far, and it's a good feeling to get all the chips pushed my way. In the next hand, I pick up pocket 7s and the big blind. There is a button open to $85. Small blind folds and onto me. Certainly could think about raising here in this spot, but considering I can just make the call for $60 more, I do that, and we're off to see a flop of ace 7-4 rainbow. Middle set, what a dream. The tides are turning. I check it over to him, and he bets out $65. Considering there are not a ton of draws on this board here, I decided to just make the call for now, hoping to build a bigger pot on later streets. We're off to a turn which comes the deuce of spades, brings in a backdoor flush draw. I check it over to him, praying that he bets big and praying he has a really good hand, but sadly he checks it back, so doesn't seem like we can get too much money if he doesn't have much going on for his hand. We're off to a river which comes a queen. Now, onto me, it's a decision between betting large or betting small. Certainly don't want to check this one, as he's pretty much shown that he wants to give up, or at least has some showdown when he checks back the turn. So I decided to bet small, and by small, I mean tiny. I sized to $80. Could it be small enough to induce a raise? This player thinks about it for a long time. Maybe he's thinking about a raise. That would be really cool, but sadly, he just makes the call. I show my hand, and obviously a set's going to be good. He later tells me that he called with a deuce. So it's nice to win this one. I guess I might have gotten max value against a pair. Here we are, getting chips pushed my way at least. All right, we've won 2 hands in a row now. Could it be a start of a heater? I pick up queen jack of diamonds in this hand in the small blind. There's a cutoff open to $75, button folds, and onto me. Don't like calling here in this position, and with suited Broadway cards, I put in a 3-bet and size up to $325. Big blind folds, and the cutoff defends. We're playing relatively deep, so we're off to a flop of 4-4-5 rainbow. Not really the best flop for me, to be honest with you, but I certainly can contain a lot of overpairs on this board, so I throw out a small bet of $210 to start. And for 210, he makes the call, so certainly looks like he's got a decent hand, maybe at least an overpair. We're off to a turn which comes the King of Hearts. Pretty damn good card for my specific range here, and as played, there's nothing to do besides continue betting on this beautiful card. Certainly can rep a lot of ace kings or king queens of the world, and you know, I have queen jacks, maybe even king jack as well. I continue with a bet of $750, sizing way up, and now he thinks about it for a long time, in the tank a little bit, and it certainly seems like he has some sort of pocket pair, and this king is higher than that pair. Anyways, he ends up making the call, and all right, the plan is to pretty much blast off and put smaller pairs into a terrible spot. Hands like sixes through jacks will certainly hate it, and even a hand as strong as queens won't be comfortable with the situation if I barrel river. We're off to a river, hoping to improve, but when the river is an 8, yep, whatever. If he has pocket 8s, that would be really bad, but I decide to stick with the plan and overbet to 3,000. Now, this puts the player into the tank for a long time. Cue the fast forwarding, because I'm not going to make you guys sweat it out for this long, but ultimately, he does end up calling. Shit. Didn't work here. I show my queen high, and he shows pocket 10s. Pretty sick call by him. Gotta respect him putting the chips in the middle facing an overbet, and like I said, at the very least, I did put pocket 10s into a terrible spot, and kudos to the player for making the right call this time. Okay, that was a pretty big failed bluff attempt. Now back trying to regain our money, I pick up queen 10 offsuit in the big blind. We're still playing 5-handed, and there's a cutoff open to $85. The button makes the call, small blind makes the call, and here, closing out the action, sure, I call too. We're off to a flop of 9-7 deuce rainbow, pretty dry board, and brick city for us, all things considered. But the action checks all the way around, so we get to see a free turn, which comes a jack. So pretty decent card for us, as we've improved to an open-ended straight draw now. And when the small blind leads out and bets $200, I am open-ended. I am certainly in here, definitely going to play this one and hoping to bink on the river. Everyone else folds, so now we're going heads up versus the small blind to a river. The river is now a board pairing 9. Oh boy. And even more interesting, this player bets out $600. Pretty large bet here, and I think I have a really good candidate to raise. Pretty interested in this with the board pairing, and as played, I don't think he's going to have a 9 too often as he bets on the turn. Not really supposed to be repping 9s or betting 9s, considering there's an overcard on the flop and we're multi-way, so I think I can credibly rep a lot of the 9s. And on top of that, I block a lot of the Jack X holdings like Queen Jack and Jack 10 as well. So my hand definitely connects with the board a lot. And if I raise here, I put Jack X or one pair holdings into another horrible spot. I think about it for a while and I talk myself into it and thinking it's a good idea. Let's go for it here. I'm fighting for every single pot shorthanded on this table, and this one's no different. I put in a raise to $2,000. Now, once again, putting another player into a pretty bad spot as he thinks about it for a long time. Puts on his thinking cap, and I'm just looking and staring at the board, trying not to give off any reads. And at the very least, if I get called here once again, I guess the one thing that can make myself feel better by bluffing so much is that I'm putting players in an uncomfortable spot. And I guess that is merit for something, right? Ultimately, he ends up letting his cards go, saying he'll see it later regardless on the vlog. So happy to get this bluff through with queen high. And as reckless as we're playing, at least this one got through. All right, on to the next hand, and you're probably thinking, how can all these big hands keep happening? Well, let me tell you, I pick up pocket nines in the big blind, this time playing four-handed, so really short. There's a small blind player who limps the player I just played against with queen jack, and I put in a raise to $100. He decides on making the calls, so we are playing blind versus blind here to a flop of 10-4-4 rainbow. He checks to me and I put in a bet of $75. Can't be too afraid of the 10 on the board. And he decides on a call for 75. Going to a turn which is as glorious as it gets, it's a 9. Bink. He checks it to me, and this time, let's definitely start getting a lot of money in the middle. I decide to bet out $300, and once again, he makes the call rather quickly. So we've got a full house, trying to bloat up the pot. We're going to a river, which comes a 6. Pretty inconsequential, all things considered, and he checks for a third time. Look, this is the player that called $3,000 with pocket 10s. And I can assume that he can certainly call light again to another overbet, but this time I'm gonna basically have the nuts here. I decide to overbet the pot to $1,350. He thinks about it for a long time once again. It's another spot where players are thinking through their decisions for a long, long time. And after his tank, he ends up grabbing chips, then thinks a little bit for a little bit longer, and then calls. There we go. This time my overbet was for value, finally in this session, and I win. He said nice turn after I showed my cards, so he probably just had a 10, I guess. It's nice to suck out and win a pile of chips, and we're clawing back once again. In one of the last interesting spots of this session here, closing things out, I have ace-8 offsuit on the button straddle to $50. There's a small blind player who calls, cutoff calls the 50, and I check my button straddle option. We're off to a flop of ace-jack-7 rainbow. Action checks to me, and I have a mediocre top pair. Certainly could start betting here for value, but I decided to check this one, and we're off to see a turn 3 ways, which comes the 3 of diamonds. Brings in a backdoor flush draw, and the small blind now leads for $100. The cutoff player makes the fold, and here, I'm happy to just make the call. Weak top pair, we're happy to see what happens on the river in position. When the river comes the 6 of diamonds, oh boy. Definitely opens the door for some interesting possibilities given it went runner, runner, diamonds, and I have the ace of diamonds. The small blind bets again for $300. It's a pretty large sizing, and I certainly can bluff catch with top pair and a pair of aces here, but I think about turning my ace of diamonds into a bluff. Seems like a better idea, potentially. Not sure if I'm on the cusp of being way too splashy, way too bluff heavy, or maybe I'm doing something right, but I'm gonna go for it and test out this theory myself, thinking maybe that this raise here could get better hands to fold, like better 1 pairs or even 2 pair at that. I put in a raise, this time sizing to $1,000, and he snap folds, so it's nice to win this one. Didn't get punished for over bluffing here, but still, it's nice to get chips pushed my way again, and it's nice ways to close out this high stakes session. All right, wrapping up this very fun session, to say the least. Quite a battle, big stakes, big stacks, pretty crazy swings, to be honest. At one point I was down close to 5,000, and then for like a split second I was up, and then pissed it all away like 2 hands after, literally like 3 minutes later. Ultimately, 10-25, sometimes the $50 straddle was on, and it was fun. Anyways, let's go over numbers. That's what you guys care about. I was in for a specific amount of 31500, which is good amount, I guess. Anyways, out of the game for drum roll 30510, a minus of not 1,000, a minus of $990. So found a way to crawl back a little bit, I guess. I'll take that. I'll take the under 1K hit. It honestly isn't as bad as it could have been, but overall, like, besides the ace-5 blunder from part 1, which if you haven't seen, you definitely should see. It was literally the most gamble I've ever seen or played. Outside of that, where I didn't really know what I was doing playing Pineapple, the Hold'em went pretty well. I'm pretty happy with how I played in Hold'em, considering after Pineapple, I was down like 4,500, 5K, and then in the Hold'em, I made 4,000. So even with a 3K bluff that got called by 10. Anyways, this is a ridiculous video. Thank you so much. If you haven't watched part 1, I highly recommend it. I'll leave a link in the description below. But thanks so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video. If you made it all the way this far, click that like button. Just gently give it a tap. If you haven't subscribed already, then I don't know what else you want from me. See you guys next time. Peace. Here's me getting kicked out of this place, Coconut Creek.
Get the fuck out of here, bro.
Here we are.